Hello and welcome to the big picture. The controversy arising out of the disclosure of India's Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj helping the former IPL Commissioner Lalit Modi to get travel papers from UK government refuses to die down. In fact, while that aspect as well as the latter revelations about Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje and her son MP Dushyant Singh involvement in keeps the political slugfest going, the issue of what will happen to Lalit Modi himself remains unanswered. The fact is Lalit Modi faces over 24 cases of financial irregularities, money laundering and criminal cases which are being probed by different agencies in India. Question is what happens to them if Lalit Modi is not brought back to India? And the more important question of how to get him back to India. What are the avenues available and what needs to be done? Today we'll look at all this with S. Narayan, former Revenue and Finance Secretary, Government of India, on the phone line from Chennai, M.K. Badrukumar, former Ambassador, Vikas Singh, former Additional Solicitor General of India, Balwinder Singh, former Special Director CBI, and Vinay Kumar, Senior Journalist. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Narayan? Mr. Narayan, is this a case which the Government of India, the various agencies which have been dealing with such cases, is this something new, the way this whole case has played out so far?
No, I don't know whether it is something new or not, but it's quite sad that this particular case, in fact, the case against this gentleman is about 3 or 4 years old. So the real question is, what have the agencies been doing all this period?
Yeah.
Why have they not been able to complete the investigation? And why is the state of the investigation itself not in public domain? After all, this is not yesterday's case. It's a 2011 case.
Yes.
And 4 years should be adequate time for the agencies to come up with some kind of a conclusion of whether he is guilty or what he is guilty of, and to frame charges.
Right.
So there has been definitely some lethargy in the investigations that has been carried out by the different agencies.
The former Finance Minister, Mr. Chidambaram, says that he had written to the UK government in 2013, to extradite him or to send him back. That is one action which seems to be in the public domain apart from nothing else.
Yeah, but that is one aspect of bringing him back. More importantly, if there are 10 to 12 cases against him, what are these cases? How valid are these cases, and what are the charges, and who are the other people involved? I think that is more fundamental.
Okay, sir, please stay on. I'll come back to you. Mr. Vikas Singh, how do you look at this? As Mr. Narayan says, this case has been going on for 4 years. Here is the man who fled from this country. He was declared a virtual fugitive by revoking his passport, and then last year the passport gets restored by the government, by the courts. And these cases, how do you look at this whole affair?
Girish, I'll tell you there are 2-3 aspects to this. As far as the Enforcement Directorate angle is concerned, so far whatever that has come in the public domain looks like the Enforcement Directorate is still groping in the dark. And I'll tell you why. Because when you talk of a money laundering case, then the act has been structured in such a manner that before any case can be started against you, you should be accused of an offence which is a scheduled offence under the act. Now,
which act
so far there has been no offence which has been disclosed in the public domain which is the Money Laundering Act.
Money Laundering.
The Enforcement Directorate gets its powers under the Money Laundering Act. So you have to be accused of a scheduled offence, number 1. Number 2, you should generate the proceed of crime in that scheduled offence. So for instance, kidnapping would be a scheduled offence, then the ransom worry would be the proceed of crime. And then the third aspect is that you're trying to use the proceed of crime to legitimize that money by using the regular banking channel or using a regular investment portfolio by which you are actually converting a proceed of crime into legitimate money. So that's money laundering. So all this is, as far as whatever has come in the public domain, looks like the ED is still very much groping in the dark, and it's more of a wild goose chase than a proper actual inquiry with regard to any, because I don't think any of these three ingredients have so far surfaced. That is one aspect. The other aspect of bringing him back is concerned. Mr. Chidambaram just can't say that I wrote to the UK government and asked for his extradition. Extradition is a very formal affair. You have to make a formal application to the courts in England for extraditing a person by disclosing that these are the cases pending against him, this is the evidence available against him, and accordingly he is required in India to face trial. Now, no such application has till date been made. So it's not a case where you can just simply write and say, I want to extradite this person. That's not done at all. That's not the legal position. Thirdly, if he is an Indian citizen, you can always ask that he should be deported. You can say that, look here, he is required here in this country, he is still an Indian citizen. I don't know whether he has acquired UK citizenship as yet. Because if he is not UK citizenship, then you can also ask him to be deported to the country. That's also a formal request which the government of India will have to make to the UK government and say that please cancel his visa and deport him back to India for him to face trial. Now, since the first part of it is still nebulous and they are still groping in the dark, obviously they are not in a position to do the second and the third, which is either extradition or deportation. So according to me, this is more of a media trial which is going on and less of actual trial, because unless all these things are done, the case is a non-starter.
Okay, that's very interesting what you said. Mr. Narayan, would you like to react to that before I go to Mr. Bhadrakumar?
No, this is, what he has said is absolutely, this is technically the correct position. And it just goes back to my point saying that what has the ED been doing for the last 3 or 4 years? And if there's a case against him, why not to charge him? If no case against him, why not to come up and say we have not been able to find any case against him? And
okay.
why do we keep on keeping?
Okay.
Sorry, why do you keep the gentleman hanging without any finality? And why is the public therefore led to presume guilt when the investigating agencies have not yet been able to establish it one way or the other?
Okay. Bhadrakumar, there are two issues as far as you are concerned, your background is concerned as far as a diplomat and ambassador. Vikas Singh was talking about two things. One is extradition and deportation. Which is the ideal case in this, and how does it happen?
You see, all that has been said is highly irrelevant. First of all, everything is interlinked in the sense that, you have to frame the charges. You should know what you are, trying this man for. You should file a case. All this is a starting point.
Right.
And as we have heard, that point has not yet been arrived. So in the downstream only you look at all these other aspects. Now, generally the position is, that on this human rights issue, the European Union has a very strong standpoint, and Britain is a member of the European Union. There is considerable weightage given to the human rights considerations of an individual when an individual is the aggrieved party.
What is human rights?
Human rights, I'll explain to you. That is, the onus is on us to convince the British authorities, if it is deportation, that that there are cases against him, and we have to convince them that there is, because this person also has his rights. Now, secondly, if it is an extradition matter, then it comes under the extradition treaty, which was signed during Prime Minister Narasimha Rao's time, if I remember correctly, when we had all that Khalistan and all those problems. We signed the treaty in the early 90s. Now, under the extradition treaty, if you are wanting to get him back, that is assuming he has taken British citizenship or has British travel papers, then he can approach a British court of law. And there, he can claim, for example, that he is entitled to a fair trial, which in the prevailing circumstances in India is not conceivable, since very powerful political personalities are involved, for example. And then the British court can ask, what do you mean by powerful political personalities? So it can actually, the lid can open, and it can spin
open
out
a can of worms.
Yes, and it can spin out of hands. Secondly, he can also, there again, the onus is on us to prove that there is a certain situation of gravity which requires him to physically come here and extradition, etc. There again, we have to substantiate our point of view. First, it is taken up through the diplomatic channels, then it goes to the court of law. And finally, there is a very important angle which, if you may have noticed, Mr. Sharad Pawar very casually touched. Mr. Pawar said that in the course of the recent days, that when he went to London, he met with Mr. Lalit Modi. And then he told him, apparently, as per his remarks to the media here, that he advised him to come back to India. And then Mr. Modi said that he can't come back because there are very serious security considerations, security threat. And Mr. Pawar observed that indeed, in his opinion too, there are security considerations prevailing. Now the point is, this person, Mr. Lalit Modi, was under security cover in India at one time. He can easily substantiate there was a threat because the Indian authorities also felt there was a threat. And I'm very sure that the meeting with the Bombay Commissioner of Police was not unconnected when in London. So now, you know, this is a very, very important factor in the extradition question. If the individual's life is
under threat,
and that is why I'm saying,
perceived to be under threat.
That is why I'm saying that the European Union has a very, very strong position on this human rights question.
And the Indian government doesn't seem to have taken care to, you know, convince them on all these issues.
Now the point is, you can look at it technically as a criminal case. But Girish, you know, I know, everyone here knows, given the references to very big people, personalities involved in Indian politics, this is as much a political case.
Absolutely.
So all these factors come into play.
Mr. Balwinder Singh, in your experience, these kind of cases, how do you handle these kind of cases? And when a person, see, the interesting thing is this, he goes away from India in 2010. Till 2014, 2011, his passport is revoked. Till 2014 August, he doesn't have a passport. He gets a travel papers only in 2014 August. Between 2011 and 2014, he is sitting there in England apparently, and I don't know how he managed to travel to other places if he has traveled. What was it that the Indian government could have done between between 2011 and 2014?
Yes, I would start with where Mr. Vikas Singh left. You see, as he said, when it comes to money laundering, the Act Prevention of Money Laundering Act, PMLA, there has to be a predicate offence. Somebody should have committed an offence which is given in the schedule of offences, and the proceeds of crime of that particular offence, if they are laundered is the normal word laundering, that is cleaning up, legitimizing dirty money. If he has done that, then he comes under then he has violated PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now, from the public domain, what I have learned is there is one case under Indian Penal Code and related laws, which is pending in Chennai. It's a 2010 case of misappropriation or criminal breach of trust regarding marketing rights of cricket. That's what we have learned from the... That's the only case I have seen from the public domain. I do not know whether there are any other cases. Now, what were the proceeds of crime? How far that investigation has reached? And have they reached a point where they can ask for extradition under Prevention of Money Laundering Act? Unless there is a prima facie case, you cannot ask for extradition. When it comes to deportation, deporting a person because his passport has been impounded, that is relatively a much less formal process and depends on understanding between the two governments, because judicial process, extradition is a quasi-judicial, rather a judicial process, whereas deportation is largely an administrative decision. But there also, as the former ambassador explained, there are issues connected where countries don't deport so easily.
Absolutely.
And then there are other cases of FEMA, a point which has not been touched so far. We have learned from media that there are 16 cases of foreign exchange violations. Now those foreign exchange violations under FEMA, earlier FARA, those were criminal offences. But FEMA, they are civil offences. And under those it is not possible to
get
for extradition.
Okay.
So that's the broad position.
Okay. Vinay, you must have followed this case through the, in the past. What happened between 2011 and 2014? Chidambaram tells us, former finance minister tells us that he wrote to the Chancellor of Exchequer, in 2013, asking them to, send back Modi since he was facing criminal charges here. He mentions criminal charges, and then he wrote again, second time, he wrote a second letter in which he used apparently stronger words that, that he was facing investigation, his passport has been revoked, he had no right to live in the UK, and he should be sent back to India. Was this the strongest part of this whole investigation or attempt to get him back, or was there anything else happening then?
No, this does not constitute an action which can be described as a very serious effort in getting him back. Writing a letter, because once all these charges are being investigated by several investigating agencies. I'll just take you back to Abu Salim case, extradition. It was so difficult for CBI to get him. Special director went there, and there were a whole lot of things, as Mr.
Khatroki, we never got him.
Never got him, and then extradition is a judicial process where it goes from one court to the court of another country. Whereas, as Mr. Balwinder Singh rightly said, deportation is a much shorter process, where if the government-to-government understanding is there and the agreement is there, the person can be deported because he happens to be an Indian national. Now, in these cases, his passport was given back to him by the High Court. There was no appeal against that in the Supreme Court. That happened in 2014.
Exactly.
And before that, nothing is in public domain that till what stage investigations have been carried on, whether they are nearing finality, whether the charges have been filed in a court. So all this, when these cases are going on and this process is set in motion, legal process set in motion, then it becomes all the more difficult for any agency or any government to simply get a person from another country. And as former ambassador Mr. Bhadra Kumar said, the human rights issue is a very big issue. In Europe, the CBI couldn't get Nadeem Shravan's duo. That Nadeem, he is still in UK. He never got, extradition failed. So similarly in Navy War Room leak case, there also we couldn't do much. So all this has to be done very carefully. It has to be documented properly. Then you have to prove that he has committed an offence, and the court there in UK must agree to what you say. So it's not
Mr. Narayan, Mr. Narayan, Mr. Narayan, looking at all these things. So are you convinced that there has been a half-hearted attempt to get him back? As I was asking Vinay also, the same question to you. From 2011, when his passport was revoked, till 2014, when it was restored, 3 years were there. When he was living in United Kingdom without with a passport revoked, wasn't that the time when Indian government could have moved in and got him back?
Absolutely. All this clearly points out that there was not a serious attempt by, I would call it the political masters as well as the investigating agencies to get a complete picture of this case. And therefore one starts to wonder why it is that such a high-profile case was not taken to its fruition or completion. And then that is the kind of questions that you need to be asking. Why is it that it did not happen?
Okay.
And there I think perhaps a lot of skeletons may come out.
Skeletons will tumble. Mr. Vikas Singh, again the same question to you. Where a person whose passport has been revoked, living in another country without a passport, without obviously any the travel papers or of that country also, for 3 years he was there. He was not. There doesn't seem to be any serious attempt apart from what Mr. Chidambaram says, that he had written to the UK Chancellor of Exchequer. And one more crucial thing which Vinay also was pointing out. August 2014, the passport is revoked. It's 10 months now, no appeal is filed. How do you explain that?
Well, there could be two explanations. One is that the government of the day, when this whole case was initially registered, has not taken proper steps, or the ED has not taken proper steps and recovered, done the investigation properly and taken the matter to the logical end. That could be one explanation. The other explanation could be that the case itself was registered without adequate evidence available. I mean, prosecutable evidence has not been there with them, and a case is somehow just registered, and then you really don't know what to do. So you are registering the case without any prosecutable evidence available with you, and now you are groping in the dark and trying to make out a case. Obviously, it will be almost next to impossible to do something in a matter like this. So that is why, if you see, the court also in August 2014 has directed that his passport be returned to him, because obviously since between 2010 and 2014 they have not been able to establish before the High Court that they have got something really incriminating against the person. That's why the court has ordered. Now, once the court has ordered, because there is lack of evidence, then obviously there is no point in going to the Supreme Court also, because the Supreme Court also will throw out a petition like this. So really speaking, it's if you are to look at it, it looks more like a case of the latter kind than the former kind. That this is a case where the case has been probably registered without due application of mind.
Without due, Mr. Balwinder Singh, would you agree with that? Is that the feeling you get? Because but going by the what is there in the public domain, there are a whole list of charges which seems genuine, which seems to have the prima facie some content.
I think we are
or
not.
Is it at the prosecution stage that there seems to be some bungling?
I think we are not drawing a major distinction. There are two separate acts: foreign exchange violations,
yes,
and criminal case with regard to misappropriation or criminal breach of trust, which is under investigation with Chennai police, that is Tamil Nadu government. As far as ED is concerned, they would come into the picture with regard to money laundering only after prima facie case of criminal breach of trust or whatever sections they have registered.
Does it take 4 years?
No, it should not take that long. If somebody pays proper attention, such cases can be finalized within a year or so. So why Tamil Nadu police has taken so long, it is for them to explain.
Yeah, Bhajakumar.
As far as foreign exchange violations are concerned, those are not really criminal offences which come under the purview of Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So ED cannot act under PMLA. They can act under FEMA. They are also the authority under FEMA. Now, those are not the offences which are taken very seriously in the developed world.
Yes, Mr.
You see, Girish, see the absurdity of the situation, both with regard to deportation or extradition. We have ourselves prevailed upon, recommended to the British authorities that we have no objection to this person traveling.
Yes.
And then after that, we don't have a case to press, So now we don't have a case. Then besides, another thing is, I forgot to mention this, under the EU laws, when a person is sought to be deported or something like that, it's not purely an administrative decision. There is a much political content to it, because again, coming back to the human rights angle. So it's not as if, some joint secretary in the British Foreign Office takes a decision. We have a démarche from the High Commission, so put him in the plane and send him back. No, that's not the way it works in those countries. So there, when he takes it, there are 3 yardsticks, as I said. One is, will he get a fair trial? Secondly, will there be an undue delay? Now, that's a very big consideration for these countries, that, there should be swift justice, because delayed justice is wrong, So here you find that 4 years have passed, something has happened, and the government of India has not framed anything, and then going back and says, we need him, the sense of urgency is missing, you see? And then today, we did 2 things to compound it. One is recommending to the British authorities that we have no objection to this person being provided travel documents. And also, we didn't even say for a specific journey to Portugal, we said all over the world.
And then he gets it for 2 years.
Yes, absolutely. And then
the Delhi High Court
second point is, when his passport was restored, Government of India didn't find anything objectionable. So which means that he is entitled to a travel document, he can travel freely, he is not running into India's national interests in any way. And then after that, on what grounds do you go back? So as I see it, this is actually going to be the denominator of the case. That is that we might make a démarche to the British authorities asking him to come back, because the papers say that he's already put in his papers applying for British citizenship. And under the British laws, if a person invests a certain amount of money in Britain, he almost automatically, through an automatic route, he is entitled to citizenship. And when he gets a British citizenship, he can press his rights fully 100% in terms of what a British citizen is entitled to, which means we are coming back to the celebrated story of Boris Berezovsky, from oligarch from Russia, who ran away.
Right.
He took again a few £100 million out of
and invested
Russia. They never got him back. They never got him back, you know.
Vinay, do you think any serious attempts are now being made in the government circles to, you know, how to tackle this case?
No, now it has taken a lot of political overtones. This case has taken, and
no, even politically for the government, it would the best thing they can do politically is to get him back. But
yeah,
getting him back, how to get him back?
Yeah, this is what we have been discussing. I mean, how to get him back. But for the government, it makes a lot of sense to exercise this option, to mount a serious effort and tell the people that here are the steps which we want to take, because the opposition has already indicated that they will make things difficult for the government in the coming monsoon session of Parliament. So things are not going to be easy for the BJP-led NDA government when Parliament session opens. But this is the first option, and that the government mounts a serious effort, and it should also appear that the government is
making
willing,
a sincere effort
to get him back. And then the political question comes in, where opposition is demanding resignations of External Affairs Minister and Rajasthan Chief Minister. That is the second step.
Absolutely,
that
is at the political level that will have to be dealt with. Mr. Narayan, very quickly, last words to you, sir.
No, I think the matter has been discussed threadbare, and I think obviously politics has had a big role in making sure that this investigation in the past has not proceeded any further. So I do hope that the current Parliament session will ensure that we see clarity in this investigation.
Okay, Mr. Vikas Singh, very quickly, sir, last word.
Well, this is a case where I think it will be better for the government to come out very clean and say that what exactly they have against him, what is the nature of investigation that they have done so far, and what they have been able to unearth, so that it will be clear as to whether they were in the first part or the second part of colluding with him, or secondly, whether he is a case where he has been victimized. So that clarity will come only when the government comes out and informs what is exactly available with them.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a very interesting finale to the whole thing. The fact is that the government has to be seen to be very sincere in getting back this man, but whether it's going to be easy, you heard all my panelists today, it is not going to be an easy job, but we'll wait and watch what the government has up its sleeve to ensure that he comes back. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue, The Big Picture, same time tomorrow.